Good morning, Amaryllis.
Good morning, Susan. How are you today?
Doing great. How about you?
I'm great. Good morning, guys. And thank you for tuning in to Authentic Conversations. We are so glad that you're here today. And our authentic conversation, if this is your first time, we talk about spirituality, our journey in life. We are going through the law of the universe. And today they're matching up with our meditation that we also have on Thursday nights. So if you haven't joined us, please do just reach out to us and we'll send you the Zoom link. It's completely free. So Susan, today's law, what are we talking about?
So today's the universal law of polarity. So, what the universal law of polarity says is that there is an exact opposite for everything, right? So, everything operates on a continuum from two different poles. So, light and dark, good versus evil. Every time you think about the just the general principles, sunrise, sunset, light, dark, new, old, right? Everything is on the continuum of the poles. So polarity reminds us that when we are in our darkest space, there is always light, but we're not necessarily looking at the light, we're only noticing the darkness. So if you know that you're in the darkness and there is light, then you would turn towards the light. So it's interesting because there's a meme that I love, and it's like, if you're facing the light, your shadow's always with you, but it's behind you. If you're not facing the light, the only thing that you're looking at is your shadow because the light is behind you. So again, it's about perspective. It's about where you're standing in your life and which way you're looking forward, backwards.
So for some of us have also heard the term shadow work. Is this the same thing?
Yes, absolutely. Because there is no one who walks this earth without shadow or darkness within them. It's a balance thing, for as much as we need the things outside, it's to recognize the things inside, and a lot of times we bury things in the shadows, or we bury our darkness inside of us, and then that becomes the battle that we're constantly facing. We're afraid to show our darkness for fear that it will dim our light, that people will not see us. So I could call that vulnerability, right? Showing all aspects of yourself is really hard to do. So people enter into relationships only showing that light, shiny part of themselves. And, it's a known fact that everyone has the opposite side. It's polarity. You cannot be without. It's like the balance, the in order to stand upright, you need to have resistance, but resistance is what holds us back. So resistance is a continuum. Are you using it to propel yourself forward like a rubber band, or are you keeping the resistance, is the resistance keeping you stuck? So yeah, it's a fine line. It's a very interesting concept, but the awareness of it, just the knowing that, everyone, that everything has its light and its dark, has its, you know, positives and negatives. Think about just the actual makeup of our physical bodies with, protons, neutrons, electrons, positive and negative energy charges, right? That's what it is.
So I had the image of like a seed in the dark in the soil coming up to the light, or birth where you're
The
in
dark canal,
Gaia
baby. Ah,
Canal coming into the light. And for myself, my journey of coming into the light, I remember having a hard time accepting sadness
mhm.
because I'm the happy person. The the partier, the light that always has a smile, comes in. And so anytime that I feel sad or something, especially as an empath, feeling energy, other people's energy, carrying it on, my boundaries all over the place, not balancing that, just a whole other video that we'll have. But right now, talking about finding the okay to be sad. I had a hard time with that because it's like, I'm depressed. I am sad. How can this be? Why am I not being grateful?
Yeah.
Why am I being sad when I have food on my table? Like, really?
I think in the labeling of things, right? So when you are allegedly supposed to be happy and so really supposed to be is never thing anyway, but when, when there's an expectation that people should only be happy, hello, where's the polarity there? Where's the continuum? So you are feeling something, and whatever it is that you're feeling, you're allowed to be feeling. You don't necessarily have to label it sad or happy, but oh, I'm in the midst of feeling something right here. I have to feel it. I have to feel it. And when you recognize that there is no way that 100% of the people can be 100% of the time 100% happy, because there's an opposite to that. How do you know joy if you don't understand sadness? You would not know what joy felt like. Joy would be mundane without the opposite or the polarity of joy. So we have to allow ourselves to feel these things in order to fully feel. If you think about the neutral line, right? So neutral line is in the middle. And we have, joyful feelings, and we have, feelings of discontent or sadness, right? The higher that you can feel on one side, the lower that you can feel on the other. So, we're working on creating a full range of emotion.
And Susan, you just mentioned like last week, the labeling.
Yeah.
It's all about the labeling, right? So all these laws always will remind us, right? We are all one energy. We're all connected. So yes, you're going to feel somebody's, if you're empathetic and you feel somebody being sad, you put yourself in their shoes and maybe you start feeling sad, but it doesn't mean that your whole day could be this or you're labeling it. So you start labeling things and then you start saying, well, I'm not a positive person. If I have to have positive thoughts in my mind. And I think when we start going through this journey and we start reading so much, we get overwhelmed with trying to get our thoughts and our heart to match. And this is where we have the light and the dark, because the dark comes back. If you haven't healed your ancestral pain from your great grandparents and things that happened in your family, it will, until you don't heal that, it will continue.
It does continue, and it keeps resurfacing, and that's not a bad thing. We want to label all of this bad. I have to fix it so it doesn't come back. No, no, we acknowledge and become aware. It's not about fixing. You acknowledge, you become aware, you soften into it, you recognize it, and then you let it go. And then the next layer or level shows up. I mean, this is not something that, the work is ongoing. It's not something that you're ever going to be totally free from. It's just something that you're going to have a better understanding of, and how it molded and shaped who you are, which is not bad either. Again, labeling is so huge.
Oh, I mean, it's like for me as a parent, the other day, we went to the theme park. I don't know if I talked about this, but the boys wanted to get on this ride. I did not have a great experience with theme parks when I was little. So I'm trying to not pass on my fears. As simple as that, right? So awareness is the key again, right? So I'm aware and I'm like, okay, do you really, really want to get on that ride? And I said, I'm not getting on the ride. She's like, you can go ahead, but I want you to have fun, but I want you to know that I can't come there. I can't rescue you. And again, I'm trying to separate and not bring in that energy to them because I didn't have that experience. And then they got on the ride, and I just was like, okay, of course, I really didn't want them to get on the ride. And they had an amazing time.
Yes, but don't steal from them their experiences. And you also have to remember that you are not the same person that you were when you had that initial experience. You've had so many life experiences between then that, maybe next time, since they had so much fun, you could see it differently.
Oh, I'll see it differently, but I'm not getting on it.
You don't have to. You don't have to, but don't deny them their experience
No,
because
right.
of your experience. And that's I mean, that's the point of the story, which is what, you have to work really hard to release and let go.
Of course. And I had to work really hard to not show that I was afraid, to not to just talk them through it and say, hey, let's look at this really quickly. You're growing, you're able to jump on this ride. I love it. I want you to know if you get scared, your sister's gonna be there with you, but I won't be there and it's gonna be okay. But again, I just had to I was like in the back of my mind, like, okay, how do I do this without making them not want to get on it? Because I didn't want to take that away.
And what you did was perfect. You gave them the blessing to allow them to have their own experience. And if they had hated it, that would have been fine too, or if it had not been enjoyable, then they would at least know that about themselves, which is what you've learned about yourself, which is cool. Cool. Yeah. I have one kid that's a ride goer and one kid that's not. It's how
Mm.
it works. One's like, oh, the free fall thing. Yeah, I'm on it. I'm like, okay, have a great day. Yeah. Yeah. But it's their level of comfort. It's what brings them, it's what makes them who they are.
So when we're working through shadow work, Susan, aside from meditation and journaling, I would recommend looking at things, sitting in the moment and taking it in. What other advice do we want to give our audience?
I think the biggest thing about shadow work is to not judge it. Don't
Mm.
get caught up in feeling bad about, the parts of yourself that you don't necessarily love yet. It's really about being kind and compassionate to yourself, and sending love to the parts of yourself that you deem it maybe unlovable at this moment, but that'll come, because when we embrace the darkness we allow for greater light. It's when we understand that it's not unique to us, and that a lot of it is in our heads, and based on historical references and experiences that we've had prior. um, it's just about recognizing and awareness, not about judging or, creating stories about it. Just, hey, I see you. I see that. I see where that comes from. And I'm okay with that because I know that that's a part of something that made me who I am today.
And even when it comes to letting go of things that are lifestyle, because I've noticed that there are certain times where I no longer feel like going to a club or how much I drink. And I'm noticing like your body tells you, right? If you have a glass of wine and you're not feeling well, we were just talking about this before recording, uh, listening in back to the awareness, back to the body telling us and our souls that this doesn't sit well. And it's okay to let it go for a little bit, maybe. But I think sometimes we get so stuck with what other people are going to judge us in society. And like, oh, if I go to a party and I say I'm not drinking no more, then it becomes this big conversation like, what's the matter? Are you going to AA? Like, what happened? And it's like, no, I just, at this moment right now, don't want to have a drink. I'm okay because you feel it. And I'm going through that right now. Like, there's moments where I'm like, maybe just need to stop drinking altogether for a little bit and let my body detox. I don't know. My body's telling me something because there's just no way that every time I have a drink, I have a headache or I wake up the next day not feeling well. It's like I didn't have that when I was 20.
Yeah, no, and you're not 20, and I think it really is about just the awareness of just noticing. A lot of times we don't pay close enough attention. I will tell you certain foods affect your body in certain ways. So, if you're having trouble falling asleep, pay attention to what you ate and notice the pattern. If there's something that you're eating for dinner that's creating, challenging going to sleep, or sugar in your diet, a all kinds of things can interrupt the way the system works. So, the more clued in you get to yourself, the more you recognize and become aware without judgment, the more you're going to notice about what works for you. And it's not about what anyone else thinks ever. You do not have to explain or defend yourself. You just say, no, thank you, not for me, not happening right now. And, that's the way it is.
It just reminded me of one time when I did a 2-week cleansing right before going to Miami Beach.
Well, I'm sure that your motivation behind that was probably different, but, it's still the
Well,
same.
it just happened to be that I wasn't feeling well. I knew that something needed to be fixed, and I went to my natural doctor, and she said, let's do a cleansing. So I had a cut coffee. I had a horrible headache. My body was just, oh my god. I called her the next day, and I'm like, really? Can I have Advil? Like, I'm. She's like, nope. This is detoxing. Your body needs it. You have to go through it. So I called out sick. I get migraines. I mean, it helped me with my migraines. There are very few that came in. So, but I then decided I wanted to go away. And I had amazing support. We made it the biggest joke in the world because I was cleansing my body. So I'm at the beach, constantly going. And when we went clubbing, I asked for a ginger ale, or it was no, I couldn't have
Club soda.
sugars.
Club soda, please. Club soda at the club. That's what you're supposed to have, right?
Right. And but it was, again, it's like it was the best thing for what I needed for my body. And life continues. And I was gonna still I went, I kept up with my diet. I had my juice, I had my flaxseed with me. I mean, I just doesn't have to stop all the way. And you just have to have the support. And that's also when you see the people that are, again, we talk about our cheerleaders, right? If you're hanging around somebody who's going to constantly point out how you're changing and how it's like you're no longer the same person, well, we all change, then
We
you
are.
don't love me.
We are all changing, and it's a threat to them if so if they feel threatened by the fact that you're growing instead of encouraging your growth so that
Right.
you can return the favor and encourage theirs. That's what you need to pay attention to, because if you're not surrounded by people who are uplifting you, then it's the polarity. You're surrounded by people that are dragging you down, because there's two ends of the spectrum.
It's all about what we attract, right?
That's
Again,
right.
another law, right?
Energy,
Vibrational
vibration.
law, energy, vibration. Again, it's like, who are we attracting around us? I mean, I'm still the fun person without a drink in my hand. I'm going to still be the same person on this diet. And, it was fun. Again, it was the joke of the trip, because then everybody was so great with accommodating and helping me when we went out to eat. Everyone was then like, oh, are there good vegetables here? Can you eat this in the morning?
But
Do you have your juice?
those are your cheerleaders. I mean, then where you are at that point. And they may remained in your life, and they may not have, but
Hmm.
in that moment, that's what you needed. So when we talk about polarity, where it's everything has two poles, north and south, east and west, so it's a right turn or a left turn. It's, elevation or descending, it's really about paying attention. It's the light and the darkness, it's the positive and the negative, it's the future and the past. It's all polarity. So when we pay attention to the universal laws, and there's 12 of them, and we're getting close to the end, but each and every one, intertwines with the other and creates a set of guidelines to really just be aware of. No rules, just guidelines.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. I hope you enjoyed this conversation. If you have any thoughts or feedback, please leave them in the comments, follow us. And also, if you have a topic that you want us to talk about, we're here. Let us know. Thank you, and have a great day.
All right, thanks, Emerald. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.